I'm Victor Fernandez of Fernandez Fit, and I'm here to show you why fitness is our business. Hello and welcome once again to the Healthy Lives, Healthy Business podcast, the podcast that helps busy professionals balance their demanding personal and professional lives through health and fitness. I am your host, Victor Fernandez. Thanks for joining me as you do each and every week. I truly do appreciate it. Now, if this is your first time listening to the show, first off, where have you been? Secondly, make sure to subscribe to the show and share it far and wide because many more people need to learn that fitness is our business. Also, welcome. I should have said that earlier, but welcome to the show for the first time. And you've picked a good time to check us out for the first time because I'm really excited about having my next guest on the show. And I know I say that every time I bring a guest on, and that's true. Guilty as charged, but I'm excited for a different reason. You see, most of my guests these past 3 years have been people I've known for a long time. My next guest and I, until today, have had exactly one conversation. That's it. But during that conversation, I could tell you that I wanted her on the show to share her insight just really on life. And this right now, like I said, is conversation number 2. My next guest is a colorful writer and speaker, celebrated for guiding audiences on a spiritual journey to ward off burnout through nurturing self-care rituals. With a profound dedication to mental health and spiritual harmony, she illuminates pathways to inner peace and sustainable success. Through enlightening discourse and transformative practices, she empowers individuals to cultivate resilience, align with their higher purpose, and flourish in both personal and professional realms. So you can be sure we're going to learn simple self-care practices we can implement into our daily lives, why they're so important, and what can happen if we're not implementing. So I'm just going to shut up now and welcome to the show, Carlie Sturtz. Carlie, thanks for joining me today. How you doing?
Thank you so much for having me, Victor. I'm doing wonderful.
Well, awesome. Well, welcome to the show. As I shared, this is actually our conversation number 2. We had a pretty good one the first time around a few weeks back. And at that point, it's like, you know what? Gotta have her on the show to bring really a different perspective to life. And certainly we talk a lot about the mental journey, the emotional journey, the physical journey when we're talking about true health and well-being. And I think oftentimes the spiritual journey that we go on can get overlooked. But when I was preparing for the show, those are the 2 words that really jumped out at me because it's not something I share all that often in my own life. Given that I focus on the mental, emotional, and physical side, I wanted to kind of get your take on just the importance of the spiritual journey component in our lives. And also what led you, what points in your life led you to reaching a stage in your life that you've been able to help so many people gain clarity in their spiritual journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this conversation is so important because we oftentimes forget we're so tapped into the human body that we forget there's a spirit body there as well. And we're really not the body or the mind. I mean, we technically are the human body. The human body is born and then it dies, but we are forever a spirit. So I think that focusing and putting so much emphasis on that spirit and your journey is just so important. So thank you so much again for having me. And I'm so excited to get into all of this.
Absolutely. So tell me about how your life's journey led you to this stage in your life to having such an incredible impact on people's lives.
Yes, so I am a cosmetologist by trade for almost a decade now. And exactly 5 years ago, I started telling my parents that there has to be more to life. There was something weird going on spiritually, but this was pre-COVID times. We weren't really hearing a lot about spirituality or mental health, but I just kept telling them, I'm like, something doesn't feel right. And I didn't know what my parents were going through at the time, the financial hardships that they were going through. So they kind of were writing me off a little bit, and they were like, you make such great money. How could you possibly complain? And I just remember having these thoughts like, I don't think it's about money. Like I make incredible money. I'm able to pay and sustain my bills, but like there has to be something more. And then December of 2019, so um, right under 5 years ago, I lost my father to suicide. And that just absolutely rocked mine and my family's worlds, rightfully so. And it just, what I had been saying, it all kind of clicked to me. I was like, wow, okay, so this is why I was getting written off, is because they were dealing with their own stuff. My dad didn't have the capacity or the bandwidth, so to say, of being able to focus on me and what was going wrong or right in my life, because he was kind of just in survival mode. And I thought to myself, when COVID rolled around 3 months later and we started hearing so much emphasis on mental health, I've always been a writer and a speaker. I grew up doing that. I mean, I was on the morning broadcast team in elementary school, so it's always been something, a part of my little soul that I've enjoyed doing. And with a background in the beauty industry, naturally, that is that pairs really well with self-care. And I was just like, I want to, even if what I am doing only helps one person, I want to be able to provide the tools, provide the insights over what comes naturally to me, anyways, speaking and writing about mental health, feeling good, just different practices that people can implement, even if it only helps one person. And then this brand, so to speak, was born. People kind of started self-catalyzing it as a brand. I had never really even heard of that. And I'm like, I think that this blog is a brand. This is really cool. And it certainly comes with heart. I believe in turning our pain into purpose, turning your mess into message in life, and just kind of surrendering to whatever that may be, whatever the texture of it may be. And I have just kind of worked on putting something out to the public and the groups that I speak with, that whether they're children of 8 years old or men and women that are 80 years old, of something that they can take with them, something that is going to have a lasting impact and that they can continue to implement on a daily basis to make them and help them to feel better.
Absolutely. And I guess first off, my condolences about your father. I can't even imagine.
Thank you
Um,
so much.
I know for me, and in a way, what you just shared resonates with me in the sense that I lost my father back in November of last year.
Hmm.
And to me, he had suffered a stroke 7 years earlier and was able to survive that long. And I use the term survive because that was basically what he was doing. He
Yeah.
wasn't living, and you notice the big, when you see it happening, and you don't really understand completely what's going on, because you never know what's going on in somebody's mind, somebody's heart, unless they truly share it with you. And then, but seeing it from the outside and feeling helpless,
Hmm.
to be able to help in any way, or hopeless even in a sense. How are you able to deal with that and be able to turn this into something that can help people, realize they're really not alone, and there's help out there in so many ways, shapes, and forms?
Yeah. And Victor, it's kind of funny. I remember sitting in my living room and just kind of staring up at the popcorn ceiling one day and, feeling my father's presence all around my house, because he helped me renovate my house back in 2019. And I thought to myself, I said, this pain is going to all go to waste if I can't channel it into something for good. And that's not to take away from anybody else's experience at all. Of course, grief and healing is packaged differently for everybody. But I just said, I've really got something here, and I've got this voice and this platform, and I want to use it for good. And, if that's me sharing what some of my healing process, healing journey looks like, then I'm going to need to get vulnerable here and do so. And I think we really saw the need for that come COVID, right? Because the suicide rates just absolutely jumped. I mean, that was truly what the pandemic was. If you look at the numbers of death, suicide was actually far higher the year that COVID came about than death from COVID even was, which was just so interesting to me. And it just felt like God was really affirming, like, I've put this on your heart for a reason. And I like to believe that everything does happen for a reason, even, that's really hard to say sometimes. And, sometimes I have family members that get upset when I say that, but I try and think about the bigger picture of things, and sometimes we can't see the full picture, right? An analogy I really love with not being able to see the full picture is one fish swims up to another fish and he says, "Can you believe that there's a whole world outside of here, buildings, skyscrapers, mountains, jungles?" And the other fish says, "No, that can't be because we can't see it." And it's like, imagine if we just wrote things off because we couldn't physically see them. So that's where I think, like, having faith comes in, and just believing in what you're doing even when you maybe don't see the results and you're in the planting the seeds phase of things, just holding to it, and just keeping on moving forward.
I can't agree with you more when you said there has to be some reason, some purpose, some meaning behind everything that happens in our lives, whether it's something good or something, tragic, something not so good. I look at it in my dad's perspective is that I never want to be in a situation where I thought life isn't worth living,
Hmm.
or we're just here to exist as opposed to live. And a year later now, I'll be honest with you, I can't believe it's been almost a year, uh, because
Yes,
the
I'm
time
so
has just
sorry.
flown by. Thank you, thank you. But I learned from him that we need to have a purpose in life, no matter what age we're at, no matter what time in our lives, no matter what's going on in our lives. We need something to really wrap our hands around, wrap our arms around, to get up in the morning every day. you
Yes.
know and you mentioned obviously helping people. If it means being vulnerable, then that's exactly what you need to do. And I feel so much the same way. So what's that been like? Because it's not an easy thing to do, especially in today's society when so many people feel the need to chime in, and without really having, real positive thoughts, if you will. What's it been like putting yourself out there in such a vulnerable manner, knowing full well, that it may not always turn out the way you hope it does?
Yeah, well, I certainly think that the pace that I have worked at helped a bit because, speaking engagements in person were really not allowed during the year of COVID, and there well after into 2021 as well. So that did kind of set me up for a very nice pace of having things online, writing about things, doing things that way and virtually, opposed to being in front of crowds. And now I am to the point when I started speaking in front of crowds middle of 2021, it had already been a year and a half by that point since his passing. So I do think that that pace did set me up for a good bit of success. But if I'm being honest with you, gosh, I was calling around from school to school a month and a half to 2 months after he passed. Like, I have a message and these kids need to hear it. And right as I was, my role was slowed a bit because I was told for professionalism purposes, you need a website. And then I met with website designers. And then COVID hit, and I was like, wow, okay, so I will not be in schools anyways. This is really God's way of telling me, slow your roll, do the research a good bit. And let's talk about this when it's in the rear view mirror opposed to in the car with you. Maybe right now is a good research time in your life. And that is certainly how I found what I speak about now, all of the different practices that help, so to speak. And, I needed to I needed to have that healing and grieving journey before I could get up in front of crowds the way that I do, with the confidence that I have and exude now, without maybe questioning, okay, am I going to have a breakdown? Can I talk about this objectively? And now I'm able to talk about it so objectively that it's it just sometimes feels like another day to me. If anything, I'm more excited because I know it's helping people rather than thinking about the hurt that was there. And that's the one thing people always said is every day it gets better. So I just held on to that, and that has really helped me as well.
I know for me, I've always, one thing I truly enjoy and passionate about what I do is when I have conversations with people who seek out help,
Hmm.
for their health and well-being. There very rarely, if any times, has been stories they've shared with me where at least even one part of it resonated, where I could sit there and say, I remember when, and be able to share an example of how I can relate to what they're saying. How important has that been in being able to help as many people as you have, being able to relate to what they're sharing with you, be able to resonate how they're feeling and what they're thinking?
Yeah, I would say that that has been immensely important, being able to relate and resonate. And sometimes I seek out the more challenging speaking experiences just because I think that that's where sometimes I'm pointed to be a little bit. So, like, for instance, I believe it was the 2-year anniversary of his death was coming up, my father's death. And I said to a friend, we were sitting at Eggs Up Grill or something like that, having coffee and breakfast. And I said, I really think that I don't want to, just throw myself a pity party or be the victim this upcoming Saturday. I really think that I need to get out and speak. And that couldn't have been the more perfect person that I was eating with. He said, I know someone that lost her partner to suicide. And maybe, well, I was telling him, I said, usually I speak outside because you don't, like in a park or something like that. What is it called? Longleaf Park is a really
Mhm.
incredible place to speak with people in the garden. And I said, but it's, in the 30s out, nobody's going to want to be outside. I need to find a space on short notice. And he said, well, this girl has this spa and she lost a partner to suicide. I bet she would totally let you speak there and, hold a guided meditation for grief. And so I reached out to her. It couldn't have been more divine. And it was really like me feeling that was really needing to connect with her mother in law that had lost the son to suicide. And she just came up to me after and she said, I mean, she was crying pretty hard. She said, this is the closest I have felt to my son, since he's been gone. Thank you so much for providing me with this experience. I want to stay in contact with you. I want you to start speaking at the mom's grief group. And so it just, as she was crying, I started crying because it's such a divine intervention for both of us that have been through these tragic, horrible, awful life events to meet like this and um, to meet with so much love around us and to now have a sustained relationship years later. It's truly interesting. So sometimes I try and run towards the things that I fear most and just wondering, okay, what should I say? What should I not say? Do I incorporate God in some of this? Do I not? So just trying to think about things like that. And I think it's exciting to do that. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know who you're going to help give the tools or something that, maybe they could use and implement on their healing journey. And all that they're going to give you as well, and just a friendship that lasts a lifetime as well.
I know for me, I've been in the health and fitness industry now 5, 6 years, but I can honestly say that I haven't felt that I've belonged in the health and fitness industry for 5, 6 years, because we all believe, we all have those moments in time, especially when we're doing something out of our comfort zone. And this was about as out of my comfort zone as I could get, having gone from sports journalism to health and fitness.
Yeah.
You have those self-limiting beliefs where you think, I don't belong here. I don't know what I'm talking about. Who's going to listen to me? For you, what was that process like of really grasping the fact that, yes, this is what I was intended to do. This is what I was put on this earth to do.
Yeah. So you're saying, like, what did it feel like, or what were some of the signs that, like, this is what I'm supposed to do?
Absolutely. When did you realize that, yes, this is what I was put on this earth to do, to help people?
Yeah, definitely when I just kind of threw myself in the ring a little bit, even by just self-catalyzing myself. Like, I enjoy writing, I enjoy speaking. I'm going to do this. And speaking of limiting beliefs, for something for so long that kind of weighed on me, like the little devil on my shoulder was, you don't have a college degree. What do you mean you're going to be writing and going to be speaking? And then I'm like, no, you know what? If I'm writing, if I'm speaking, that makes me a writer and a speaker. And the more work that I do, the more things that I put out, the more times that I speak in front of an audience, that's when it's like, no, I am, and I don't need to think that I'm not. And then having encounters like that with my friend that came up to me after the grief guided meditation, or the little 8-year-old girl that recently came up to me at a self-care talk that I did, and she brought me a little sticker and said, I want you to have this because you've inspired me so much. It's things like that that I leave, and if I'm being completely honest, I just get in my car and I'll just cry tears of gratitude, because I'm just like, first off, I want to thank God for the opportunity and for giving me the voice and the the direction on where to go and who to speak to, but ultimately thank myself for not showing up and pushing past the fear, because I'd be lying to you if I said that sometimes on the way to these engagements that my heart wasn't beating like a phone book in a dryer. And I can't take credit for that. That's Will Ferrell, but I love using that analogy because it's so true. I think imposter syndrome is something that will keep us stuck if we let it. It will keep us in our comfort zone, and that's what the comfort zone is for, right? Is to feel comfortable. But it's when we challenge ourselves to step out of that's where the real beauty and magic to life lie.
I know, and forgive me if I ask a question that's out of turn. Well, actually, make a statement that's out of turn, or a little tease, if you will, is the fact that your life is changing every day, because there's I guess the next important milestone in your life. You're not going to be just a writer, just a speaker. You're going to be something equally important, if not the most important job on earth. And again, if I'm out of turn, forgive me, but I figured you might want to share that and show just how your life is evolving as we speak.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with what I believe you're referencing to, me being 37 weeks pregnant right now, and that was, you'll resonate with this part, being somebody with a fitness background and just emphasizing or prioritizing an immense amount of priority on health and fitness. The journey has definitely been very interesting, and I've had to intuitively listen to my body. I'm somebody that enjoys to work out 5 to 7 times a week, even if it's just a simple walk, 30 minutes to an hour. I count that as a workout. So having to really slow down throughout this and say, okay, maybe today I don't need to walk, or I just I'm feeling that I need to relax. That's been hard for me as someone that likes to go, go, go. And, another thing that's very interesting, but I've had to give myself just so much grace on is I like to call them escapism behaviors. I don't like to fall victim to escapism behaviors such as binge watching too much TV or scrolling on my phone too much. But sometimes when the waves of sickness come in or just waves of lethargy or not feeling too well, I have found that some of these escapism behaviors, like binging a show for a little, has they have taken my mind off of the sickness or just maybe not feeling my best. So giving myself grace there and knowing that we're dynamic beings, that, like you said, we're always changing. Every day we should be changing. Um, so not being too rigid with the things that I need to do, or even, at the doctor's office, they want to tell you, and this has been very interesting for me, they don't want you to gain more than like 25 pounds. But I'm a firm believer in intuitive eating, intuitive grocery shopping, even intuitive working out, exercising. And so I've gained more like 50. And I hear other moms saying that as well. They're like, I gained anywhere from like 30 to 70. So it's the whole range of hearing like, you know, 25 pounds. That's a little bit unrealistic. Maybe for some that's so nice. Oh my gosh, I wish that I could gain 25. Um, so that's certainly been interesting. And the sleep, I usually sleep like 11 to 12 hours right now. And I have
I
sometimes,
wish.
I'm going to miss it. I'm about to be a part of the 5 a.m. club here soon. I've always wanted to join, but yeah, so that's been hard for me because, I like to go, go, go. And so I just try and be gentle with myself and say, you're probably in your hibernation period because you're about to not be sleeping like at all. So just embracing it, embracing the change, and not falling into the rut of telling myself I'm lazy or I've gained too much weight or this or that or I need to go work out today, even though I don't feel feel physically up for it. Just allowing myself that grace of knowing like I'm literally growing a human. I just need to listen to my body and not be hard on myself. And something that really helped me, I think I was like 15 or 16 when I heard this. And to this day, I just think that it is some of the most profound advice when it comes to physical fitness and exercise and eating that I've truly ever heard in my life. And she was no Gandhi that spoke it. This was just a girl on Facebook from my hometown, but she said, um, you know if you make a mistake in your health and wellness journey, if you binge out, if you have the dessert that you want, enjoy it. Do not sit there while you're eating the cookie or while you're, sitting on the, don't sit there and sulk while you're supposed to be enjoying it. Do it, eat the cookie, eat the 5 cookies, whatever, and then move on from it. Don't tell yourself later that night, oh, well, I can't go to the gym because I just had these cookies. There's no point. No, there's absolutely a point. You just
Mm-hmm.
had the cookies. Go to the gym. Stick to your plan. Or same thing the next day. Oh, I don't feel good. I'm just not gonna go. What's the point of eating healthy today? I just binged out and had a bunch of greasy Chinese food last night. There's no point. Again, there's a point, and get back to it. Get back to it as fast as you can without feeling shame or guilt over what your body wanted in that moment. It's okay.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you shared. That's always a cool experience, and to
Yeah.
bring a life into the world. There's not anything bigger than that.
Yes,
Than
absolutely.
bringing a life into the world. Given all that you've experienced, the good, the bad, everything in between, and this is probably going to be a very, complex question to ask, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Yeah.
the most important lesson? Your child is sitting there listening to you. You're about to impart some wisdom. What's the most important lesson from what you've learned, especially in your adult life, about just the importance of the spiritual journey we're on, the happiness that we're building for ourselves, and living the life that we have, as opposed to merely existing in it?
Yeah, wow, that's a really great question. And I honestly haven't thought of it yet, but I guess what comes up, like, first and foremost in my mind is just that you are the only you in the entire world, and just know the power that that holds, know how special that is. And that is something, when I think about talking to a child and instilling hope in them, that is something that I actually say a lot when I speak to children about mental health and self-care is you are the only you in the entire world. And that can be interpreted on so many different levels. But if we're looking at it from a physical level, let's say, we're in the day and age of social media. There are so many young girls and boys experiencing things like body dysmorphia, or just feeling this that they're not worthy enough, that they're not special enough, and really struggling with mental health because of that. So sometimes thinking like you are the only you in the entire world. Of course, sometimes when you see someone with your fitness results, or a model or this or that, you're going to be intrigued by them. You've never seen them before. You see yourself in the mirror every single day. But don't let that take away from who you are as a person, because you're equally just as special as them, because you're the only you in the entire world that has ever existed. Like, that is just so cool. And I think it's again another way to kind of take us out of the human body and put us into the spirit body, because sometimes when we're tapped into the human body and thinking about things that are very material, and of this world, that is when we can get down and out on ourselves, right? And pick apart our appearance or our weight or this or that. And with my background in the beauty industry, you see just so much of that. You just see women absolutely ripping themselves to shreds. And that's where I too wanted to change the trajectory of my work a little bit into something more soulfully giving rather than spiritually giving as well. So yeah, I'd say that I want my child to know that they're just so special. They're the only them, and to be authentic. Authenticity is always translated well. And I think it's when we see people being inauthentic or going out of their way to be liked, that can just be really soul killing as well, to not be who you are. And when you say no to things that you don't want to do, people you don't want to be around, experiences that you do not want to have, that makes so much more room in your life for all of the yeses that you do want.
Absolutely. But I mean, I told you it was a complex question. That was a very profound answer. So nicely done. I
Thank
definitely
you.
can resonate with me. Normally, I wait till the end of the show to say, "Hey, share with the audience, where they can find you on social media, all the platforms, all the things."
Yeah.
But I've always been intrigued, and I don't think I've ever asked this question of you because like I said, we haven't talked all that often. But all your social media platforms all start with Bloomy Brain.
Yes.
Where is there? There's got to be a significance behind that name.
Yeah. So it was when basically COVID happened, and I was told, okay, I will not be, speaking in schools right now. I need to come up with a website. Well, I was already coming up with the website for more credibility, but I hadn't put a lot of emphasis, so to speak, on what the name would be. But as I really started giving it a lot of thought and just thinking, okay, this is going to be like my blog. This is going to be the house of everything for a while we're not allowed to speak anywhere. What do I want the name to be? And I wanted it to be something that was a cool, unique, different way for saying open minded, because so much of my work is to look at things with a new perspective. And that has been an ongoing thing, even with doing hair, with talking to friends. People always say to me, I never thought of it like that, or I never looked at it in that way. So I think that that's kind of my purpose here on this planet, is to help people look at things in a different way. If they're looking at it with the glass half empty, here's another way to look at the same exact experience, just with awareness and being able to see it with the glass half full, because the experience just is. It doesn't have to be negative, it doesn't have to be positive, it can just be equanimitous. So I started doodling what an open mind looks like, of these flowers coming out of this girl's head, and I was like, bloomy, blooming, brained, your brain to be blooming, your brain to be growing, open-minded. And it just stuck. I was like, my name Carlie is Lie, and so I liked doing that for bloomy, because it kind of feels like an iteration of me in a sense, and then brained. So just, yeah, to keep your mind opened. And we spent a lot of time on the graphic, actually. So I actually have it right here. This is the self-care book and journal that I came out with.
Okay.
So you guys can kind of see, her brain is growing, she's watering it. I think that the watering can is so important. Me and the graphic designer, we actually went back and forth a lot about this. She said that she didn't really see much of a point in having the watering can. And I was like, the watering can is everything. That holds so much symbolism of constantly working on ourselves, constantly growing, So it's funny how something so simple you can be so opinionated about.
Very true. Very true. One final question before we wrap things up, and this has been, a real, just awesome conversation that we've had here, and I appreciate you coming on. You strike me as someone who lives in the moment, but I'm going to ask this question anyway. What do you envision yourself being like and doing 5 years, 10 years from now, even beyond that?
Yeah, I definitely envision myself being on TEDx. So having a keynote speech on TEDx, I think that is just like a dream of mine. And I'm in a speaker sister group currently, where many of the women are already TEDx speakers, and one of them is currently in South Africa delivering 2 TEDx keynote speeches. So she is just an absolute powerhouse of a woman to me, and she's just so influential. So I really would love to be on TEDx. Um, and then also having one of my books become a New York Times best-selling book, or to be looked at as a best-selling author. And I have one book right now that I've been co-creating with a mental health therapist out of Charlotte that is currently in the editing, followed then it'll go to illustration, and we will have it out hopefully by the end of the year. I'm really hoping, but the editing has been taking a little while. But yeah, so I just, when I meditate and visualize, I like to think of these 2 things specifically, just bigger speaking engagements, and being a New York Times best-selling author and having a New York Times best-selling book. And, Victor, it's not the money that motivates me. I think in the beginning of my journey of bringing all of this to fruition, I had to kind of cut ties with wanting money out of things, because I think if you're just following your passion, if you're putting good into the world, the money just naturally follows. And I'm sure you resonate a lot with that, having a podcast, because you know how it is. We don't always get paid for these things at first, but we have to keep doing them. and the money does follow, whether that be through different brand deals, through different clients that we take on one-on-one, different engagements, things like that. But yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, this has been awesome, for lack of a better term, definitely profound. And I knew it would be. That's why I wanted to. And everybody knows that normally when I talk to people about being on the show, it's somebody I've known for some time and developed a good, quality relationship with, good quality rapport. But there was just something from our first conversation that led me to believe, you know what? There's no need to wait till 6 months from now or a year from now. Let's make it happen now if we can. I'm glad we were able to.
Yes, thank you again so much for having me and taking a chance on me after just one conversation.
Well, it was a chance worth taking. Share with everybody, because we talked about Blooming Brain a little bit, but share with everyone where they can find you on all the different social media platforms, website, even where they can find your books.
Yes, absolutely. So my three main platforms are, of course, my website. So that is just bloomybrain.com, BLOOMIEBRAINED.com. And then from there, you will also see my YouTube. My YouTube is Bloomy Brained as well, but I believe you do have to put a space to get it to actually come up. And then my Instagram is also just at Bloomy Brained. Those are my three main platforms. My LinkedIn is just my first and last name, Carlie Sturtz. So yeah, I'd say 4 platforms total. I'm on TikTok as well as Bloomy Brained. So yep, I look forward to connecting with everybody. And then the book that doubles as a journal, that is on Amazon. So you can also just type in Bloomy Brained, but on Amazon, make sure you put the space as well for it to come up.
Awesome. And we'll have all these. You won't be tested on them later. You'll have them all in the show notes, so you don't have to worry about it. So if you don't remember any of them, you can go in the show notes and check it out. I can definitely confirm you do need the space on the YouTube, because I went and followed your YouTube page, your YouTube channel as well. So I can confirm that, because when I first looked it up, it's like, it's not coming up. Ah, there it is. Okay, there we go.
It's funny how it does that. You'd think it would just come up.
You would think that's technology for you, right?
Yes, and also on my YouTube channel, just so because sometimes people like to see what is in a journal before purchasing it. And it is a very multifaceted journal with healthy food suggestions, book, podcast suggestions, all of the things, different journal prompts for your mental health. There is a full video on my YouTube channel kind of taking you guys through the journal. That way you can see it before purchasing it.
Awesome. Well, appreciate it once again. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, folks, like I told you, if this was your first episode, and even if it's not, you picked the right one to listen to. So make sure you check all her social media, all the platforms out, all the things. Make sure you subscribe to the show, leave a review, and share it far and wide, because there's always somebody out there that needs to hear from Carlie, hear what she has to say, and also needs to know that fitness is our business. Thanks so much for listening. I hope what we've shared on this show truly resonates with you. If you want to learn more about the health and fitness services I provide, head to my website, fernandezfit.com. If you're ready to connect with me about health and fitness coaching, send an email to info@fernandezfit.com or a text to 814-504-7774. And of course, you can find me all across social media, Victor Fernandez 123 on Facebook, Fernandez Fit on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, as well as the Healthy Lives, Healthy Business channel on YouTube. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, always remember, fitness is our business.